Welcome back to Night Shift Cozy. You're safe here. Let's slow down together. The rain had been falling for a while now. It wasn't the sort of rain that arrived with drama, all flashing skies and sudden gusts. It was the steady, companionable kind that simply decided to be there and then stayed. Thin silver lines stitched the air between the buildings, softening the edges of everything they touched. The cobblestones beneath your feet were dark and glossy, each one holding its own small reflection of the street lamps that had begun to glow. You walk along the narrow street, hands tucked into your pockets, your steps unhurried. The day has loosened its grip on you, thread by thread, and now, in the soft wash of the late afternoon, it's finally letting go. You can hear the rain on rooftops and window ledges. You can hear the faint hiss as it patters into gutters and slides along the edges of old stone. Ahead, the street bends gently, curving between buildings with tall, quiet facades. Their windows are mostly dim now, curtains drawn against the damp. But just at the curve, where the cobblestones dip slightly and a small drain gathers the running water, there is a glow. It spills out from a wide front window, warm and golden against the cool grey of the rain. The glass is fogged at the edges, softening the shapes within. A simple wooden sign swings gently above the door, its paint a little faded from many seasons. You can just make out the word bakery in curling script, the letters familiar and inviting. As you come closer, you catch the first hint of scent on the air. It threads itself through the dampness, warm and rich. Fresh bread, still cooling, something sweet and buttery. The comfort of yeast and sugar and flour transformed by heat. Beneath that, a quiet suggestion of spice, perhaps cinnamon or nutmeg, or the faintest breath of vanilla. You pause for a moment outside, under the slim shelter of the awning. Rain gathers along its edge and falls in tiny beads, one after another, into the puddle by the step. Through the glass you can see wooden shelves, pale walls, and the soft glow of lamps. The world inside feels slowed, wrapped in its own gentle rhythm. You reach for the door handle. The metal is cool beneath your fingers. When you push, the door gives easily, and a small brass bell above it rings in a clear, bright chime that seems to cut through the rain and then settle softly into the warm air inside. You step over the threshold, and the change in temperature is almost like a sigh. Warmth folds around you, not oppressive or heavy, but enveloping, It smells of freshly baked loaves lined up on cooling racks, their crusts still crackling quietly, of pastries brushed with syrup that glistens under the lamplight, of coffee in the air, and maybe something with orange peel, bright and subtle at the same time. The rain becomes a muted sound behind you, a gentle tapping against the bakery's large front window. You can still hear it, but now it's distant, part of the backdrop rather than the main story. Inside, the space is not large, but it's welcoming. Pale wooden floors bear the marks of many footsteps. The counter, a smooth, worn slab of oak, runs along one side, its glass display filled with rows of croissants, glazed buns, and neat slices of cake. Behind it, shelves hold rustic loaves with dark golden crusts, round and oval and long, each with a dusting of flour on top. Soft lamps hang from the ceiling, their shades a warm cream, casting pools of light that feel more like candle glow than electricity. In the corners, shadows gather gently, softened by reflection from the glass and the polished wood. Nothing here is harsh or bright. Everything is muted, like the colours outside, but warmer, more intimate. A small radiator ticks quietly under the front window, where a narrow wooden bench sits, accompanied by two sturdy chairs. From here, you can look out onto the street, the glass catching the delicate pattern of the raindrops as they drift down, gather, and slide away. Someone has placed a small vase on the windowsill with a sprig or two of dried flowers, lavender perhaps, and something golden that catches the light. The colours are soft and faded, not demanding attention, just adding a little memory of summer to the autumn afternoon. You stand just inside the door for a moment, listening to the hush. Behind the counter, a figure moves with slow, purposeful ease. An apron tied around their waist, sleeves rolled up, hands dusted lightly with flour. They are arranging pastries on a tray, aligning them with quiet care, as if each one deserves its own space. A kettle clicks off somewhere in the back, followed by the gentle, familiar sound of water being poured. When they look up and see you, their smile is small and genuine, the kind that doesn't hurry, but arrives fully when it's ready. They greet you softly, in a voice that fits the room, calm, unhurried, kind. You answer in kind, feeling something inside you begin to slow even further. It's as if the warmth is not just in the air, but in the pacing of everything that happens here. The baker gestures toward the display, inviting you to take your time. You move closer, drawn by the details. Croissants, still slightly puffed, their layers visible where the light touches them. Their surfaces are flaky, with crisp edges that look like they will shatter into delicate crumbs at the first bite. Beside them, there are rolls dusted with powdered sugar, small tarts filled with pale custard and decorated with thin slices of pear. A long, narrow tray holds slices of something darker, perhaps a spice cake dotted with raisins, its surface glazed to a gentle shine. Each item seems to hold a story. Not a complicated story, but a simple one. Early mornings, careful measuring, quiet ovens, the soft weight of dough beneath the palms of patient hands. You can almost picture the room before dawn, when the lamps are still low and the ovens begin to warm. The first loaves taking shape in the half-light. The baker waits without impatience as you look, neither pressing you to decide nor drifting away. There is time here, time enough to simply stand and let the sights and smells wash over you. When you finally choose, your voice is soft, almost reverent. A croissant, perhaps a slice of the spice cake, and something warm to drink, tea or coffee, or a spiced hot chocolate that steams in the air. The baker nods as if this is a good and thoughtful decision, and sets about preparing it. You hear the gentle clink of cups, the small shift of ceramic against the counter, the soft gush of milk being poured, the quiet hiss as hot water meets leaves or grounds. There is a rhythm to it, deliberate and comforting. While you wait, you let your gaze wander around the room. On one wall, there is a chalkboard with today's offerings, written in looping handwriting. The words curve gently, no harsh lines or hurried marks. Between the listed items are tiny drawings. A loaf of bread with lines of steam rising from it. A croissant with exaggerated layers. A steaming mug with curls of warmth drifting up from the top. Below the chalkboard, a narrow shelf holds jars of autumn spices. They're neatly labelled: cinnamon sticks, star anise, whole nutmeg, cloves. A jar of dried orange peel sits at the end, its pieces bright against the glass. The scents drift on the air, mingling with the buttery warmth from the ovens and the faint sweetness of vanilla. Near the back of the bakery, a door stands slightly ajar, letting out hints of deeper warmth and the faint mechanical hum of an oven cooling after a long day's work. You hear the soft thunk of a tray being set aside and the rustle of parchment. The baker places your drink on a small tray, alongside your pastry and a folded napkin. The cup is simple ceramic, smooth under your fingertips when you pick it up, with a slight curve at the rim that feels pleasing when you imagine taking a sip. They suggest, with a tilt of the head and a quiet word, that you might like the seat by the window. From there, you can watch the rain, they say, as if it is a small gift the day has set aside especially for you. You carry your tray carefully, the warmth of the cup soaking gently into your hands. The chair by the window creaks softly as you put it back, its wooden legs shifting slightly on the floor. You sit, your body easing into the solid, reassuring shape of the seat. Outside, the rain dots the glass in countless tiny circles, each one catching the light for a moment before merging into a shining trail that slips down to the frame. The world beyond is blurred now, the buildings softened into gentle shapes. A passerby with an umbrella becomes a dark brushstroke moving through a wash of colour. The leaves on the trees along the street are copper and gold, their edges turning a little darker where the rain has touched them. You wrap your hands around the mug and bring it closer. The scent rises up to meet you, warm and inviting. If it is tea, it carries notes of bergamot or gentle herbs. If it is coffee, it is rich and deep with a hint of chocolate. If it is hot chocolate, it is sweet and comforting, with perhaps a faint trace of nutmeg or cinnamon floating on top. Whatever you've chosen feels absolutely right in this moment. Your first sip is slow. The warmth slides down through your chest, spreading outward into your shoulders, your arms, your core. It's as if each part of you, long attuned to movement and doing and thinking, is finally being given permission to simply be. You take a small bite of the pastry. Flakes break under your teeth with the slightest crunch, then melt away, airy and tender. If it is croissant, the layers are buttery and delicate, with that faint, almost sweet flavour that lingers. If it is spice cake, it is moist and dense, carrying the familiar comfort of cinnamon and clove, the faint sparkle of orange peel. Each bite invites another, but you don't hurry. There is no need. Around you, the bakery continues its gentle movements. The baker wipes down a section of the counter with a soft cloth, moving in slow, even strokes. They hum under their breath, a tune without words, just a simple line of melody that rises and falls like breathing. Now and then, there is the faint clink of a tray being shifted, or the creak of a cupboard door opening and closing. A small clock on the wall ticks quietly, its hands moving steadily forward. It does not rush you. It simply marks the passage of time, the way the rain does, the way the cooling ovens do. As you watch the raindrops drifting down the glass, your thoughts begin to loosen. Memories come, not sharply, but like impressions on soft paper. Perhaps you recall another rainy day, years ago, when you sat by a different window and watched the world blur beyond the glass. Perhaps you think of a kitchen table from long ago, where someone baked something just for you, their hands dusted with flour, their smile full of quiet pride. You don't need to remember clearly. The feeling is enough. The feeling of being looked after, of being held by a space that asks nothing of you, except that you sit and breathe, and allow yourself to soften. The bakery seems to know how to create that feeling, the way some places simply do, through light, through scent, through the simple kindness of making something warm for someone else to enjoy. You notice little details as the minutes pass. The way the lamplight reflects off the glass domes, covering some of the pastries, making small starbursts of brightness that tremble gently when someone passes by. The fine cracks in the wooden tabletop, where years of use have left their trace in faint lines and subtle shading. The pattern of the curtain that hangs at the small back window. A simple check, perhaps, in muted colours that match the season. Your mug grows a little lighter with each sip. The pastry on your plate grows smaller, crumbs gathering in soft clusters that you draw together with a fingertip. Every movement is slower now, every action resting on a cushion of quiet attention. Outside, the light begins to shift. The grey of the afternoon deepens, taking on a bluish tint as the sun lowers behind the clouds. The street lamps glow a little brighter in response, their halos of light stretching further along the wet stones. Cars pass occasionally, their tyres making a soft hiss through the water, their reflections sliding along the glass like liquid ribbons. Inside, the bakery responds in its own way. The baker adjusts the lamps, turning one a little lower, leaving another bright enough to illuminate the counter. The shelves seem to gather the light and hold it, creating pockets of warmth where the remaining loaves sit quietly, awaiting the last customers of the day. You set your empty mug down with a soft clink. Your body feels heavier now, but in a pleasant way. Your shoulders have dropped a little, your neck less taut. There is a sense of having arrived fully in your own skin, your own breath. The earlier hours of the day feel far away, as if they belong to someone else in another time. After a while, you rise from your seat. You move slowly, with no sense of urgency, and carry your tray back to the counter. The baker meets you with that same gentle smile, accepting the empty cup and plate with a quiet word of thanks. You exchange a few small sentences, nothing elaborate. Perhaps a simple comment on the rain, or how comforting the bakery feels, or how good the pastry was. Their reply is equally simple and kind. They mention the rain as an old friend of the bakery, a familiar rhythm against the window. They say they're glad you came in from the weather, that the warmth suits you. There is a sense of welcome in every word, as if you've been part of the day's quiet story just by being here. You linger for a moment near the shelves. Your fingertips brush lightly along the rough paper of texture beneath your skin. The scent of crust and crumb is stronger here, full and earthy. You can almost imagine what it would feel like to tear off a piece. Steam rising in gentle curls. The interior soft and pale against the darker crust. On a small bulletin board beside the shelves, there are a few pinned notes. A handwritten recipe card, worn at the corners. A flyer for a local autumn festival that might already have passed. A small photograph of the bakery in earlier years. The sign freshly painted. The window display a little different, but unmistakably the same place. Time folds on itself in small, undramatic ways. You take it all in, seeing how this little bakery has been a quiet constant through many seasons. A place where people have come in from rain and snow and sun, all seeking a similar thing, without always knowing how to name it. Comfort. Pause. A moment of warmth in the midst of everything else. When you return to your seat by the window, you don't feel the need for another drink or another pastry. It is enough now just to sit, to let your body rest in the embrace of the chair, your gaze soft on the blurred world outside. The rain has grown a little lighter, but it hasn't stopped. It's become finer now, more like mist, coming down in delicate strands that seem almost to float as they fall. The leaves on the trees move only slightly, shifting with the occasional breeze, their wet surfaces catching and reflecting the glow of the lamps. Inside, the sounds have grown softer too. The ovens at the back now hum at a lower note, cooling slowly after their labours. The kettle gives a small click and is left to rest. The baker's footsteps are quieter as they move around, putting away utensils, stacking trays, covering what remains of the day's baking with clean cloths. The little clock continues its patient ticking. You notice, perhaps, that your own breathing has fallen into rhythm with it. Your inhales and exhales match the slow, steady march of the seconds. Your thoughts drift in and out, like visitors who don't intend to stay, gently arriving and then fading out again without urgency. You watch as the baker places the last of the loaves on a single central shelf. They move with care, even now, aligning each one so that it has its own small patch of lamplight. There is a sense of completing a pattern, of finishing a line of music on a soft note. When they are done, they step back for a moment and simply look, as if appreciating the quiet order they've created. They glance toward you, giving a small nod, as if to say that you are part of this completed picture too. One more element in the gentle stillness of the room. The day has shifted fully into evening now. Outside, the sky is a deep, rich blue-grey, with no distinction between cloud and fading light. The lamps along the street are resolute points of gold, holding back the dimness. The reflections on the cobblestones are more pronounced, making it look as if small pools of light have gathered at the feet of the buildings. Inside the bakery, the atmosphere is cocoon-like. The lamps are now at their lowest comfortable setting, just enough to warm the space without piercing it. Shadows gather softly in corners, gentler than before, like a blanket being drawn up over the edges of the room. You let your eyes half close. With your eyelids lowered, the shapes around you soften even more. The lamplight becomes a diffuse glow, the edges of the room almost disappearing. You can still hear the rain, the clock, the faint movement of the baker at the back of the shop, but they blend together into something like a lullaby. Your body grows heavier in the chair. You may curl your hands loosely in your lap, or rest them on the arms of the chair. Your feet find a comfortable position, perhaps tucked slightly under you, or resting flat and grounded on the warm wooden floor. The weight of your clothing feels reassuring, kind, as though you are wrapped in a familiar blanket. There is nothing left to do now. No tasks waiting just outside the bakery door. No demands hidden behind the soft tick of the clock. Here, time has become a gentle pool instead of a river. You are allowed simply to float. The baker finishes their quiet closing rituals. They wipe the counter one last time, turning the cloth over in their hands, as if smoothing away the day's marks. They stack a few empty baskets neatly on a lower shelf. They turn off an oven light that had been left on. The small click, barely more than a whisper. Finally, they step into the front of the shop and stand for a moment near the window, looking out at the softly shimmering street. From where you sit, you can see their reflection superimposed on the scene outside. A faint image of apron and gentle posture, standing among the lights and rain. They reach up to adjust one of the lamps, turning it just slightly lower. The room responds by becoming even more restful, the shadows deepening, the glow gathering more tightly around you. If they speak now, it is with a quiet voice. Perhaps they remark on how peaceful the evening has become. Perhaps they say that this is their favourite time of day, when the ovens are quiet and the bakery can simply rest. There is an invitation in their tone, unspoken but clear. You are welcome to rest too. You let your head tilt slightly against the back of the chair. Your eyes drift closed without effort. Behind your lids, the lingering colours of the bakery mingle. The warm yellow of the lamps, the soft brown of the wood, the muted shades of autumn spices in their jars. The The sound of rain on the window becomes more prominent in your awareness. Each gentle tap a reminder that the world outside is cared for, soothed by the same steady rhythm that soothes you. In this half-dreaming state, your mind drifts again to the memory of other safe, warm rooms. A kitchen somewhere, long ago, with a kettle steaming on the hob and a cake cooling on the counter. A cafe you once ducked into while travelling, where you watched rain streak a foreign city's window. A friend's table, cluttered with mugs and crumbs after a long, comforting conversation. They all blur together now, not as separate places, but as facets of the same feeling. The feeling of being sheltered, of being inside while the world softens at the edges, of knowing that, for this moment at least, nothing is required of you but presence. You breathe in slowly through your nose. The scents are gentler now, but still there. A trace of bread, still faintly warm. A faint sweetness lingering from the pastries. The echo of spice in the air, soothing and familiar. You breathe out just as slowly, letting your exhale carry away the last small tensions lodged in your shoulders, your jaw, your hands. If you shift at all, it is just to find an even more comfortable position. Perhaps you tuck your feet a little more securely beneath the chair. Perhaps you rest your forearms on the table and let your head tilt forward slightly, supported, safe. Perhaps you lean your temple lightly against the cool pane of glass, feeling the contrast between the rainy chill outside and the radiant warmth within. The bakery seems to lean with you, as if wrapping itself more snugly around your presence. The rustle of cloth, the soft closing of a cupboard door, the gentle scrape as a chair is moved. All of these sounds drift around you like small waves of reassurance. There are no sharp edges here, no sudden interruptions, only the gradual unwinding of a day that has done all it needs to do. Eventually, the baker moves toward the door. You are aware of it in a distant, hazy way, more as a shift in the room's balance than as a discrete event. You hear the soft click of a lock being turned, the rustle of the sign on the door perhaps being flipped over to indicate that the bakery is now closed for the day. But you are not being hurried away. In this quiet story, the closing of the bakery is not an ending, but a deepening of peace. It means no new footsteps will disturb the hush. No new orders, no hurried conversations, just the steady rain, the quiet room, and you. The baker gives you one last gentle smile. They may speak a few words, perhaps telling you that you are welcome to rest here a little longer, that they will finish their tasks quietly in the back. You sense rather than see them retreat toward the ovens, leaving the front of the shop in a soft amber twilight that belongs entirely to you. You let their presence recede into the comforting distance. You are not alone, but you are undisturbed. There is a kind of deep safety in that, the knowledge that someone is nearby, tending to small, familiar things, while you are allowed to drift. The rain has become a constant, soothing whisper. It slides down the glass in fine lines, gathers, drops, begins again. It has its own kind of slow, hypnotic rhythm, one that pulls at the edges of your awareness, inviting you to step out of thoughts and into sensation. You listen to it for a long time, not counting the drops, not following them with your eyes, but simply allowing the sound to wash through you. It fills the space where thoughts might have been, smoothing them out, like a gentle hand running over a crumpled sheet. Your body, fully supported by the chair, grows heavier still. Every muscle understands, perfectly and without question, that it is allowed to let go. Your feet grow warm. Your hands rest open. Your breathing remains slow and steady, like the swing of a pendulum at the center of a very calm clock. Some part of you understands that eventually you will leave this bakery. You will step back out into the world, onto the glistening cobblestones, into the cool, damp air. You will walk along the street, lit by lamps and reflected light. You will return to the rest of your life, but not now. Now, the bakery is your whole world. 4 walls, a window, a door, a counter, a few chairs, a handful of shelves, a small contained universe where the only rules are warmth, quiet, and care. You are held by that universe as gently as a loaf of bread is held by an oven, as tenderly as dough is shaped by patient hands. And as you sit there, eyes closed, listening to the rain on the glass and the distant, soft movements in the back of the shop, you feel something inside you settling into a deep, comfortable stillness. The day has folded itself away. There is no list to remember, no task to remain vigilant for. Only this moment, stretched out like a soft blanket beneath you, inviting you to sink deeper. Your thoughts become lighter, thinner, slipping away like steam rising from a mug. In their place, there is only the gentle weight of your body, the sound of the rain, the memory of sweetness on your tongue, and the warmth that fills the air. You are safe here. The bakery, with its quiet lamps and restful shadows, its cooling ovens and faint scent of spice, has become a cocoon of calm. The rain outside is a soft boundary, a curtain drawn around the world. Inside that boundary, nothing needs to be done, nothing needs to be solved, nothing needs to be planned. You allow yourself to drift, as if leaning into the rhythm of the rain itself. Breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat, you sink further into rest. You might imagine, just for a moment, that when you finally rise and step back out into the night, you will carry with you the warmth of this place, the memory of lamplight on wood, the scent of cinnamon and vanilla, the quiet kindness in the baker's smile. But that is later. For now, you are simply here, in this chair, in this small bakery with its fogged window and its golden light. The rain is your lullaby, the ticking clock your companion, the scent of bread and pastry your gentle comfort. You let the edges of yourself soften completely, until you feel less like a figure in a chair and more like part of the room itself, part of the glow, part of the hush. The world beyond the glass continues its quiet turning. But here, inside, the evening has come to rest, and with it, so do you, held in warmth, wrapped in stillness, drifting slowly, softly, into sleep. Thank you for spending this night with us. Sleep well, friend. Don't forget to subscribe if you like more stories like this.